morning, everyone. Pam Jacobson here for welcome to our Q&A for this Wednesday. For those of you who don't know me, I am a board-certified functional medicine practitioner. I work with clients all over the United States, helping them to optimize their health and restore function where they may be having health issues or perhaps have a disease process already. I have about 20 years of experience working with patients in my private practice. And prior to that, I was in oncology, nursing for a number of years. I also, in between all of that, got my license to practice Chinese medicine. So I have a vast background in medicine, but having said that, I'm not an MD and I'm not your MD. So today's talk is not to be misconstrued as medical advice, but for what it was intended, which is education. So you can reach me. My company is the Healing Sanctuary. I'm also the Chief Wellness Officer for a company called Level 10 Health. I encourage you to check that out. It's a great wellness program. I designed a product line for that company, level10tenhealth.com. Check it out. Some great information on there. And you can reach me. At Healing Sanctuaries on all venues. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have a website, the Healing Sanctuary OC, don't forget the OC.com, and you can reach us via email at OC.com. So the topic for today is in crisis. Are you in crisis? And 3 things that you need to know. So we're continuing the series that I started several weeks ago when this whole COVID thing began. And the idea with these discussions is, what are the things that you could be doing to protect yourself, to enhance your immune protection from getting the virus, to enhance your ability to recover? And so each week we've been looking at the various topics and things that you could be doing. And last week we talked about sleep. This week we're going to talk about stress. But at this point, it's been so many weeks that we have been sheltering at home in place that I feel like there are those of us who are actually already at this. And so I wanted to address for those of you who may already be having, be at this edge for crisis or at your kind of, at the top of your level for stress. Address that first. What are the things that we could be doing? So I think the first question top of mind for many of you could be, well, Pam, what do you mean by crisis? What's the difference between crisis and stress? The crisis is when we've really hit our limit or maybe gone a little bit over that edge. So some of the symptoms that you might be experiencing would be panic, anxiety, shortness of breath, racing heart, trouble sleeping, maybe digestive issues, some diarrhea and things like that. Some of the behaviors that you might be experiencing would be avoidance, the inability to concentrate, no appetite, or overeating, or drug seeking or alcohol seeking behaviors where you're trying to use those things to soothe and to calm. So if you find yourself in any of this description, there's a very good possibility that you have, you're at that ceiling or maybe gone a little bit over that edge, and you would be what I would say in crisis. So we'll talk in a few minutes about how to avoid getting into crisis, but I really wanted to just go right up front and address it right from the beginning, that if you're here, there are some key things that you can do right away to begin to calm that down, to get you back to a place where you could then put the prevention strategies into place. Now, how does this play into the COVID situation? I can't tell you enough, guys. We've talked about this. Last week, I talked about sleep, and sleep is like the number 1 thing on the list. The number 2 thing, or I think it's even more like 1.1, is what I call stress response management. And stress response management we'll talk about in detail because that's how you prevent getting into crisis. But once we're there, the stress or our lack or our inability to respond to stress creates an even bigger immune issue for us because, and I'm going to give you a visual to use here because I think a visual can be helpful. If you're in a jungle and a lion is chasing you, there's only one thing that needs to happen. You need to survive. And your nervous system basically takes over. So you're on autopilot. The nervous system is making all of the decisions. And the only job the nervous system has is to make sure that you can run fast to get away from the danger, right? The nervous system got its information by monitoring your internal environment, right? Were you having fear? Did you see something that was concerning? Was something happening that was potentially a physical danger for you? The nervous system takes its cues from what you're thinking and how you are feeling and what your emotions are. That's how the nervous system knows what's going on. Unfortunately, it's a very primitive part of who we are and is unable to discern the difference between something like a lion that might be chasing you in a jungle and a work deadline, for instance, or a difficult client, or a problem at home with your spouse or one of your family members, or a COVID crisis like we're in right now. And so what happens is the nervous system takes over and essentially is in control, and you are no longer in control. So, in order for the nervous system to provide you with the tools that you need to survive in this lion in a jungle scenario, it has to take some of the power away from your other body systems. So the thought process would go like this. If she's going to die anyway, if this lion catches her and she's going to die anyway, she doesn't need her digestive system. She doesn't need her immune system. She doesn't need her hormonal balance system. So essentially, everything gets put on hold so that all of the resources can be shunted toward your survival. Run fast, see clearly, breathe shallowly so that you can survive this threat. And that's basically how the primitive nervous system response works, or stress response system works in the human body. Unfortunately, for all of us that find ourselves in crisis or on the edge of crisis at this point, you are no longer in control. Your nervous system has taken over. Your nervous system believes that you are in mortal danger. And it is one of the reasons why we will have the inability to concentrate and why we will feel very panicky and fearful, like we're dying, because the nervous system believes that's what's happening. And it is a vicious cycle that you get caught up in. So I'm going to talk about 3 things that you can do to immediately break that cycle and get yourself back to a place where you could then implement some prevention strategies so you don't get yourself here again. So number 1, there is only one signal, to the nervous system that you are not in mortal danger, and that is a deep breath. If you are in mortal physical danger, if you're in a situation where you could be killed or are dying, you cannot take a deep breath. When you can take a deep breath, it is a signal to the nervous system that you actually are not in danger. It is your number 1 most important tool that you can use. And it's so simple. All you have to do is breathe, which you're doing anyway, but I want you to do it a little bit differently. You take a deep breath, meaning that you inhale deeply all the way down into the belly. So get your belly fat, let it go all the way down into the belly. And then when you exhale very slowly, and you make your exhale longer than your inhale was. There's lots of different deep breathing techniques and patterns, but the bottom line is you just need to take a deep breath, or a series of deep breaths, right? Depending on where you find yourself, right? We're talking about crisis. So if I'm in crisis mode, I need to be taking deep breaths a lot, 4 or 5 at a time, really throughout my entire day. If it's a really busy day, I need to set a timer to remind myself to do that. Remember, it's the only tool you have, the only thing that you can do to signal the nervous system that you are not in mortal danger. And it is the number 1 way to begin to calm down this crisis mode. Number 2 is to redirect and get out in a natural environment. So in our natural environment, sunshine, air, and the earth itself, it provides us with a grounding energy. This isn't like woo-woo stuff. This is reality. If you look even at science around grounding technique, if we can reconnect with nature, it re-grounds us. And so a really simple, easy, quick thing that you can do is get up from your desk, which is where a lot of us are, sitting at our computers trying to work from home. Get up from your desk or your couch or your bed or wherever you find yourself in your crisis mode and go outside. Take your shoes off, put your feet in the grass, the dirt, the mud, the water, whatever, the sand, and breathe the air and let the sun shine on your skin. It doesn't matter where you live or what your weather is. Getting out into nature, whether it's just for a few minutes standing on the grass in your backyard, or you have the ability and the time and the concentration to be able to go out and do a hike in a forest or go walk on the beach. The point is that it is something that you can do right now, and it takes literally just a few minutes to get up and walk outside and stand in your grass and breathe the air and let the sun shine on your skin. It's one of the most important things you can do. And while you're out there, use your deep breathing technique, right? So now you've combined 1 and 2 together. Between those two things, you can go from crisis mode to management mode in literally moments. And if you did this several times throughout your day, by the end of the day, I believe you would be able to say that you are no longer in crisis mode. It's better than any medication that any doctor could give you, and certainly better than any supplement that I could possibly recommend. So deep breathe, go outside, and then support yourself. So there's a few ways to do that. Supporting yourself would be talk to somebody, anybody. Call someone on the phone, talk to your family, call me. That's what I do. It's important to connect, because one of the things that happens when we're in crisis mode is we tend to withdraw, and we're already all socially isolated. So withdrawal is going to be an even worse situation for you. So support yourself by talking, but also there are many supplemental ways that you can support yourself that are, again, easy, safe things that you can do. And I'm gonna give you kind of a short list of those things. There's herbs like ashwagandha, which is probably one of the most well-known herbs for calming the cortisol response. It is the premium flagship herb that's in the product I created for Level 10 Health called the Energy Formula, which is an amazing adrenal support, stress resilience kind of formula. Chamomile. There is a lot of truth to using a really high-grade chamomile tea for calming the nervous system. Magnesium. There's a lovely powdered magnesium I like it to use at bedtime that can be very helpful in calming nervous system responses. You can use melatonin at bedtime that helps deepen your sleep and relax the nervous system. B vitamins, having a really good, potent B vitamin complex. L-theanine helps to calm the mind that won't shut off, especially when we get into bed. So there's a number of things that you can do. And again, guys, this is what I do. This is how I help people. This is what I do on a daily basis. So if you're out there watching and you're not a patient of mine and you don't have a FullScript account, which is what we use to help people get their supplements, reach out to me at info at level10health.com or front desk at thehealingsanctuaryoc.com, either way, and I can help you get access to these various supplements that I'm talking about. But so that's really how you get yourself out of crisis. Deep breathe, get out in nature, and support yourself. Talk to someone, reach out and get your friends and your family to help. We all are experiencing many of the same stressors today. So and in social isolation, that can make it even worse. So really reach out and then support yourself with the things that we know can help with stress response management, herbs and vitamins and nutrients such as magnesium and B vitamins. Now, let's talk real quickly about how you could have avoided the crisis to begin with. Number one, most important thing to understand is we don't have control over the stress in our life. So this isn't about stress management, meaning I'm going to change my stressors. Where you can, you absolutely should. But so many of the things that are stressors in our lives are not things that we have control over. So what we really only have control over is how we respond to the stress. And it's that response, that thought, that emotion that our nervous system is looking for as guidance for how it's going to react, right? So those of you in crisis mode, your nervous system is responding to how you've been thinking, your thoughts, the language, what you're saying, and your emotions. So it's important to have a daily stress response management routine. And I can already feel the eye roll from all my patients out there who have heard me say this 100 gazillion times and have probably even given you all the details I'm going to give you again about the importance of stress response management. But I can't tell you enough, especially now in this crisis that we're all facing. You guys, this is not going away, right? We are going to continue. If it's not COVID-19, it will be something else. But more important than that, the stress of creating the new normal. We're all going to get out there and find that life as we knew it no longer exists, and we are going to have to create life as we know it going forward. So if we have that opportunity to recreate ourselves, this is an area that we should all be really focused on. How do you create a daily routine that will make you more resilient and better responders to the stresses in your life that you don't have control over? Okay, so I want to talk about prevention of crisis. And that starts with something that you need to do every single day, right? It can be, and there aren't many things that qualify here, guys, right? Sleep is its own category. Exercise is its own category. Diet is its own category. So how do we manage stress response? First and foremost, it has to be something that involves deep breathing, like meditation, biofeedback, some forms of yoga, not yoga used as exercise like power yoga or, but some forms of yoga, and deep breathing techniques, right? So it's a short list. There's not many things that qualify in this category because remember, the number one most important tool is the deep breath. It's why relaxation techniques will always, always involve some type of a breathing pattern. Now, the good news is, none of those are difficult to do, and they all will make you feel so much better. But when we're in crisis and we're in the jungle and the lion's chasing you, sitting down to meditate may be a little bit hard, right? Your nervous system wants you to be running and you're trying to sit down and close your eyes and deep breathe, which is why in crisis mode, I said, just take deep breaths and go outside. But in prevention mode, you can do things like meditation. There's great apps that you can get for your smartphones, Calm, Headspace, 10% Happier. I personally like Insight Timer. They all have, all different types of meditations. My recommendation for a schedule, I've got a question. Trevor said, do I recommend any testing, cortisol, reporting symptoms? Yeah. So if you're in crisis mode, it's an emergency. So I would say that the first thing you have to do is get yourself calmed down and able to focus to be able to ask me or reach out to me for, what can I do going forward? If you're a person who's like, yeah, no, my life is great, I don't have any stress, but you're having a lot of the symptoms I mentioned, and you're the type of person that really wants some evidence to show me, what kind of effect this is having on my body, we can do cortisol testing. We can actually do hormone level testing, saliva, blood, and look at your stress hormones and look at the effects those are having on your body. And we can use that information to target our treatment process. So absolutely, to answer Trevor's question, there is a very specific protocol process for helping with the treatment of stress by first testing and then using some of the supplement formulas that I talked about earlier and teaching you what I'm talking about now, which is the most important aspect of it, which is your daily stress response management routine. So for those of you that are interested in the testing, please again, reach out. You can respond anywhere, whether it's my Facebook page or the Instagram or right here on YouTube. I will get those messages and be happy to help you get access to that testing, as well as access to any of the herbal formulas and stress response management tools that I talked about. So what can we do on the daily basis? What should that schedule look like? Well, the most important thing is to start the day the right way. And so before you begin your day, before you sit down at your desk or drive off to work or get your children ready for school when that happens again, you need to, I kind of think of it as putting on my suit of armor for the day to protect me from the stresses I'm going to encounter that I have no control over. And so that would be a 15-minute dedicated process in the morning. Meditation, which is extremely helpful. For those of you that can't seem to settle yourself down enough to do meditation, you can use biofeedback, which is an amazing technique. There's a free app for your phone called Inner Balance. And you have to buy a sensor from that company, HeartMath, M-A-T-H, heartmath.com. And you pair that sensor to the app. The sensor's clipped on your ear, and it's tracking your heart rate. So when we are in relaxation, the heart rate goes up and down with our breathing. And when we are in stress mode, our heart rate stays steady, right? That makes sense. If you're in a jungle and lions chasing, you don't want your heart rate dropping out. You want it to stay steady. So the biofeedback is giving you the heart rate feedback while you're doing, guess what? Deep breathing technique. And it's like a game, and it teaches you what it feels like to be in heart rate variability, relaxation mode, and how that feels different from stress mode. So that eventually you can just flip that switch on your own very quickly by, guess what? Taking a deep breath. So biofeedback, meditation are the two techniques that I would recommend. Yoga is also a great one. First thing in the morning before you start your day for 15 minutes. Okay. Then set a timer throughout your day, particularly for those of us that are in or near that crisis mode. Every hour, you need to stop what you're doing, take a few deep breaths, maybe visualize being out in nature, walking on the beach, especially if you can't do it right at that moment. But set a timer to remind you to do something every hour or so throughout the day to kind of break that cycle of the nervous system being in control. And then at night before bed, I love sleep meditations. You just get in bed, turn it on, and fall asleep to it. So that would be a great daily routine. 15 minutes in the morning, something when you go to bed at night, and a check-in every hour or so with a deep breath. So that's how you would set yourself up for preventing the crisis. And for those of you that are in crisis and finding that you don't have a daily routine and you can't concentrate enough to develop one right now, then you need to just be taking a deep breath and getting yourselves outside. And let me know how I can be of assistance to you as well with helping you get some of the supplements or talking you through a routine and help you with some of the tools that I really like. But I'm more than willing to answer questions. I also would encourage all of you to reach out through any of those venues I mentioned and let me know what topics that you're interested in. And watch the Facebook page. I'm going to be posting later on a great article that I just read that talks about as we start to move back into our communities, as our states start to reopen. It was a really good primer on how you can protect yourself in collective situations where you're going to be around others. Because what we do understand about the virus is that it is really viral load. So how much of a viral load are you getting in the situation that you're in? And so it has to do with how small the environment is, how concentrated the environment is, and how much time you're spending there. So in a work environment, for instance, where you're sitting in an office with lots of cubicles around you, that's going to be a very concentrated environment. And if you're spending 8 hours a day there, that's going to be a lot of time in that environment. So your risk is a lot higher than, say, standing in line at the grocery store where you're 6 feet away from someone and you're only there for a few minutes. So great article. The author had mind-blowing credentials around immunology and research into human-animal viral situations. So I'm going to post that later today. Please do take advantage of it. You can just request to join the private Facebook page, but the Healing Sanctuary and Level 10 Health both have public Facebook pages as well. So again, I don't see any questions on my list. I believe that I've answered everything that I could around how to avoid getting into a crisis and what to do once you've gotten into a crisis. But if there's anything else I can help you with, please reach out. And please join me every Wednesday right here at 9 a.m. for Q&A. Have a great day, guys.